What's up guys? In my last video, I showed you how to create this beautiful schematic in a browser-based software called Flux, which is the future of electronics development from concept to PCB. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to route a PCB for this boost converter. In the end, we should have a nice board and 3D model just like this. My name is Cornelius Robinson, and this is Overshoot. Let's get into it. So let's move on over. Okay, now when we first go to the PCB, this is what we see. We can zoom out here, zoom to fit. Now this border right here is actually our current board. So I actually need to shrink it down quite a bit. So I'll go over here to Objects, select Layout, I can change the size. I'm going to change the size to about 22 millimeters wide by 15 millimeters tall. And you can actually put in the millimeter there if you want to. Okay. Alright. So first of all, I'm going to move this part kind of out of the way. And down here with this part, this is kind of doing something weird. Let's change that real quick. We drop down, we have all of our components here. U1 is already highlighted. Let's look at the footprint and then the shapes. Okay, here's the culprit. Let's just delete that. You can also select this and then select delete. Or just hit the delete key on your keyboard. Okay, that looks a lot better. Now I'm just going to move these parts out of the way real quick. Now I want to create a couple of mounting holes real quick. I'm going to go to Components. I'm going to add via. Okay. Now, this via, I want to change the size. But I also want to change the hole type, or hole size. Okay, the size I want is about 4 millimeters. The hole size, I want about 2.4 millimeters. Okay. And it's not allowing us to select that part. So I'm going to refresh the page. Keep in mind Flux is in beta, so there are a few bugs. Okay. I'm just going to drag this down here. Now I just want to copy and paste this for one more mounting hole. Okay, put that over there. That looks pretty good. Now we do have a couple of other pads here. Like I mentioned, these pads are terminals. You see here we have a 5 volt terminal, 12 volt, or -12, +12, and ground terminal. Now one cool thing about this is when you highlight a terminal like this, you click on it, and I move over to PCB, it automatically highlights that terminal as well. I'm just going to move these. Okay. Now these terminals don't have any silk screen on them, so we're actually going to create that. This is our 5-volt terminal. I'm going to add text. Okay, so here's our text right here. Now to edit the text, what we need to do over here on the right hand side, we'll see text shape right here. And then all we need to do is change this. So we'll change this to +5 volts. Okay, there we go, and that changes it. Now, I just need to move this over a bit. Okay, that's where I want it. Now I want to do the same thing over here. This is ground. You can see it highlighted when I select it. So we'll just go over here, add text. We'll select that text shape, and again we'll change this. Okay, and I'll change the position on this as well. I'm just going to speed through this part through the magic of editing. But we're essentially doing the same thing by adding a silk screen to the +12 volt and -12 volt terminals. Now that that's done, let's start rearranging the components to untangle the air wires. Moving R2. I want to rotate it. And these silk screens are kind of getting in the way of the air wires, so I'm just going to hide that by selecting Layer and hiding the top overlay. Okay, we can see that a little bit better now. Alright, so here's our R2. We're just going to throw that there. And then let's get our U1 and drag that over. That looks pretty good. You can see these air wires are connected here, so we're just going to rotate them. There, I like that. Okay, I think we have it mostly laid out where I want it, and we'll actually deal with L1 a little bit later. So to start drawing traces, you can see these little dots inside of the parts. What we want to do is select that dot. It'll start our trace in 90 and 45 degree increments. And all we have to do when we want to change direction is to click like so. And then I'm just going to click again. And then select the dot that I want to connect it to. Now all we have to do is do that for all of our traces. Now if we want to change the direction of the trace, all we have to do is hit F on our keyboard and it will change. And then we can continue on. That flashing red must be a bug. Well, it looks like the air wires are not behaving correctly anymore. I think it's actually my computer recording while laying out a PCB. Because I made this board previously in preparation for this video, and I'll show you that in a minute. A couple more things I wanted to show you first. This pad, actually I want to make it a hole because I want to be able to attach wires to it. So let's change that real quick. When we select it, we can go over here to Object Specific Rules. We can add a pad type. And we can change that to standard. We have a few different options. This creates just a hole in the board without any pad, but we want to have a little bit of a pad. As you can see, we have a regular hole with a pad around it now, and we can just do that for the rest of our pads. So one more thing I wanted to show you is how to change the trace width. Now we can change trace widths individually, or we can change them as a whole, which is what I'm going to be doing here just as an example. So we're going to select our nets, add object specific rule, and we want to change our trace width. And instead of 10 mils, we'll change it to 15. As you can see, all those traces got a little bit thicker. I did create another layout here as an example. Now this inductor that we talked about before, I put it on the bottom, and how you do that is you right click on it and flip layer, or select L. I'm just going to move this into position for the time being. Now I want to take a look at the 3D view real quick. Okay, and here's our layout. As you can see, we have our components. Our holes are showing up quite nicely. We have our various pads. On the other side, We have our inductor. I also put a silk screen on the other side, on the bottom side of this board, so we can see the what they are. Alright guys, I hope that's been helpful. I wish I could have laid out the entire PCB for you, but I think the graphics is just too much for my computer at the moment. I do plan on upgrading here pretty soon, so make sure to subscribe and we'll have better content coming.